Hello and welcome to colleagues from across the world. We're delighted that you're able to join with us for this session, one of our Stay Connected 20 webinar series entitled Earth School. We've had such an immensely positive response to this series of webinars. It's our privilege to have had so many of you joining us for each session. Just a few housekeeping points before we welcome our speaker for today. Can I remind all participants to please keep your microphones on mute and your cameras turned off for the duration of the session. Due to the varying bandwidth in different countries, there may be intermittent issues with sound. If you do experience any difficulties with audio, do please kindly check the sound settings on your device or try leaving the webinar and joining again. Should you wish to leave the webinar at any time, please do so by selecting the red button for Leave Meeting. We want to be able to give you as much opportunity as possible to ask questions or share an experience. The best way for us to be able to do this is if you please use the online chat, making sure that you select sending your message to the host. That way we'll be able to collate all of your interactions and follow up as necessary after the webinar itself. The webinar is being recorded and will be made available as soon as possible. Just a reminder to those who may find the live chat distracting, there is the option to turn off your view of this whilst participating in the webinar session. There have been so many quotes and sayings shared during this time of pandemic. One that has resonated strongly with me was, "We're all in the same storm, but not in the same boat." There's no denying that our individual contexts and the resources we have available are quite disparate. However, this global pause induced by COVID-19 has produced an inspiring momentum of collectivity and human solidarity. April 22nd of this year marked the 50th Earth Day since its inception in 1970. June the 5th this year marks World Environment Day. And between these two dates is the implementation of one of the most exciting and ambitious online learning collaborations we have seen. The United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, and TED-Ed, in collaboration with 30 other organisations, including World Wildlife Fund, UNESCO, BBC, and the National Geographic, have developed and made available Earth School. 30 days of science-based discovery and learning with the goal of empowering learners to be caretakers of our planet. Each Earth School adventure has been carefully selected by a panel of expert practitioners, and we are absolutely delighted to welcome the curator of this incredible resource, Dr. Kathleen Usher. Kat is an environmental educator whose doctoral work explored practical ways to increase teacher agency in teaching science, using place-based outdoor experiential and environmental approaches. When we first spoke, Kat expressed to me her own surprise in her immersion now into online learning from her passion and focus for outdoor learning. And like many of you, she is making the transition to school reopening following a period of lockdown. An incredibly busy and challenging time. It's a privilege to welcome you, Kat. We really appreciate you joining us today. Can I please introduce to you our guest speaker, Dr. Kathleen Usher.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, you're loud and clear, Kat.
Perfect. Well, it is such a pleasure for me to be here, and I welcome everyone. I look forward today to talking to you more about Earth School and to walking us through how Earth School was developed and how to use it to its fullest potential. So as an educator myself and someone who has worked with nature education and environmental education for the past 30 years, this is a challenging time, just as Sarah mentioned. We are trying to now kind of retool the way we approach our teaching, and our students are also in a state of flux as they are having to be much more self-directed and autonomous than they are accustomed to. So when I was approached to develop and design the curriculum for this idea, which on April 1st, which is when this idea came to my inbox, um, was to create something that would be useful as a tool for all of these billions of students around the world who are suddenly being homeschooled. David Jensen from United Nations approached me and said, would you be able to design a series of educational challenges that we would then open up, create a platform and open up to specialists from around the world, leaders in their fields of environmental science, to curate each one of these challenges. So that was really exciting, and I said, absolutely, let's get to work on this. Rolled up my sleeves and put my experience to work. And one of the things that was really exciting early on was that UNESCO came on board. And soon after, we had some amazing partners join us. So from the UNEP and the UN, we then had National Geographic and BBC, among many others, who were willing to share all of their resources in a very accessible open source format. Then we needed a platform, a way to go out there and reach as many people as possible. And this is where TED Ed came in. And when TED Ed was willing to partner with us and excited to partner with us, we knew we were onto something quite special. So I would like to start sharing now, if that's okay, Jen. And there we go. We're going to now walk you through the School website, and this is quite amazing to see. When we partnered with TED Ed, they immediately started thinking with us how we would launch School. So I would like to invite you now to our very quick promotional video. I hope the sound works well for everybody. Here we go. And there you have it. So we were very excited when we were able to introduce School to the world. And since then, we have had over 160,000 quests taken, and we have reached millions. I think we are up at 73 million people now through social media platforms to promote this new form of digital learning. School is designed to really reconnect our young people to the natural world and to get them excited and aware of how interconnected we all are to nature. The best way to do this is to have children and adults alike look at the nature of our stuff. And these are the things that are right around us, regardless of what country you are in. You are eating food, you are wearing clothes, you are using digital tools to actually explore this learning. And all of these things have direct connections to the natural world, direct connections that are often lost when we are busy in our daily lives. We tend to think of nature and the environment as being out there, as being outside, when really we are part of it. It is part of us. It is inseparable to us. So Earth School begins with theme 1, with the nature of our stuff. And you can see here that each quest is in its tidy little box. And when we open up a quest, which we will do in a minute, it opens up to a whole sort of plethora of resources and activities, as well as videos for educators to use with their students and for students and users to use on their own as well. And we can see here there are 5 quests in every theme. So we started with the nature of our stuff, and we looked at the nature of in quest 1, should we eat bugs, is the landing video. In quest 2, it's the life cycle of a t-shirt. In quest 3, it's what's in your smartphone. In quest 4, it was looking at the micro organisms that live and share our homes with us to get us excited and interested about how nature has informed our homes. And in quest 5, it was a look at energy and the energy we need and use and how that works and where that comes from. In week 2, we looked at the nature of society, of looking at how nature has informed all the different aspects of our society and our economy, such as the nature of design, looking at how something called biomimicry has helped shape and form the inventions, the architecture, the way in which we have built our human environments. We looked at the nature of engineering, and there are some fantastic I'm speaking in French now, experience, fantastic experiments to do within that. The nature of medicine, looking at how nature has informed the development of a lot of our medicines and how we hope to be able to find a vaccine or treatments for COVID-19 from nature, looking at that. Quest 9, the nature of transport, and going all the way back to the first flying machine designs from Leonardo da Vinci, and realizing that so much of our innovation is based on natural form and function. Today, we look at the dragonfly as an inspiration for a new type of search and rescue helicopter, one that is able to pluck people out of dangerous situations, all while being able to control each of its 4 wings independently of the other. Quite fascinating. In week 3, we move to understanding, well, how does our old planet work anyway? Now that we've gotten excited about how nature is connected to the stuff we use and how nature has helped inform so much of our society, we want to now have our students understand some of the basic systems on our planet and how they work and how those work within all of the things that we use and we make. So we start, of course, with water, and we move from water to biodiversity, and then to weather and climate, to oceans, and finally to plants and forests. And here we are looking at nature in balance. This is a fantastic week for anybody teaching ecology, biology, and just in a very general sense, this will give students the building blocks to understand how their world works. Following week 3, we go to week 4, looking at the nature of change. And this, of course, is our world out of balance. We look at the main problems facing our planet today, the nature of deforestation, the nature of biodiversity loss, climate change, plastics, and we end the week on a positive note, looking at the nature of restoration. Environmental education can be very tricky. We want to always elicit a sense of wonder and curiosity in our children to feel connected to the natural world before talking to them about some of the issues that are facing our natural world today. This is a real tricky part of being an environmental educator. How to balance those two. You won't care or protect what you don't know and love. This is just part of being human. We have to know things. We have to have experiences with them. We have to develop a sense of connection and truly a sense of love before we will feel compelled to be part of the solution and to change our ways in order to help the environment. So the nature of change is one that comes in week 4 to help us understand the problems, and we quickly go into week 5 or theme 5, the nature of individual action. And this is the week we are currently in. And today, quest number 23, the urban gardens and the nature of tree planting. The nature of tree planting was unlocked today. And on Monday, it will be urban gardens, and Tuesday, the nature of renewable energy. These are ways in which individuals can take action. And we really felt it was important to have your students go through understanding where their stuff comes from, understanding and getting excited about how nature has informed our society, understanding the processes of the earth, then understanding the problems of the earth and going right into how they can be part of those solutions. Theme 6 is the nature of collective action. Here we will be looking at topics that can be quite complex, like the circular economy, but presented in a way that is so accessible to young people and will be accessible to you as educators as well. And in this collective action, we will be looking at response to the climate crisis and how to participate in that, response to restoration initiatives, and also to citizen science, which is such an exciting new aspect that continues to grow and change, and the digital tools continue to be refined and expanded. And finally, on day 30, we will have our final quest. And the final quest will be looking at your journey. In this quest, we'll be examining how over the past 30 quests or 29 quests, we've used the power of story to learn. Storytelling is part of the human condition and the human fabric and continues to be. We need to always provide our students, and I know this is the case for myself as a teacher, with a pathway to be able to express their learning, a pathway to be able to express what they're feeling, what they know, what they have yet to learn. So the story will be the final quest. And in here, we will have some amazing storytellers, such as David Attenborough, who will be imploring us and encouraging us to be part of the solution. So what I'd like to do now is to go back up to the top, and we are going to explore and unpack a quest. So a good place to start is at the beginning, right? So we'll start at quest 1, the food we eat. When you click on a quest, it brings you right into the landing video. Let's begin. Our food comes from the store, right? Not exactly. In this adventure, we'll explore the origins of what we eat and learn about the impact of our diets that our diets have on the environment. We'll also see the surprising role bugs play in our food systems. They pollinate a third of our food, and educator Emma Bryce shows us they are actually pretty tasty and high in protein. After the video, continue on to other sections to learn more, interact, act, and share. Here we will launch the video and just watch a few moments of it. I just want to give you a sense of these fantastic TED Ed animations. These are complex subjects that have been turned into very accessible and approachable and eye-catching videos. There's a lot of talking in them, and there is the Google Translate option, and we have dozens and dozens of languages that these videos can be translated into, and all of the watch series will be able to be translated. The content of the quests is in English, although you could also use your Google Translate tools to translate those as well. So you start with the landing video, and you'll notice that under here, there are a few follow-up videos. And sometimes there are thumbnails with the images, and sometimes there are not, depending on whether the video was available on YouTube or not. So that's just a little aside. So if we get started here to check out one of the TED Ed videos, I'm not sure why, but I can't make it bigger. So we're just going to watch it like this.
For centuries, people have consumed bugs. Everything from beetles to caterpillars, locusts, grasshoppers, termites, and dragonflies. The practice even has a name, entomophagy. Early hunter-gatherers probably learned from animals that foraged for protein-rich insects and followed suit. As we evolved and bugs became part of our dietary tradition, they fulfilled the role of both staple food and delicacy. In ancient Greece, cicadas were considered luxury snacks, and even the Romans found beetle larvae to be scrumptious. Why have we lost our taste for bugs? The reason for our rejection is historical, and the story probably begins around 10,000 BC in the Fertile Crescent, a place in the Middle East that was a major birthplace of agriculture. Back then, our once nomadic ancestors began to settle in the Crescent, and as they learned to farm crops and domesticate animals there, attitudes changed, rippling outwards towards Europe and the rest of the Western world. As farming took off, people might have spurned bugs as mere pests that destroyed their crops. Populations grew and the West became urbanized, weakening connections with our foraging past. People simply forgot their bug-rich history. Today, for people not accustomed to entomophagy, bugs are just an irritant. They sting and bite and infest our food. We feel an ick factor associated with them, and are disgusted by the prospect of cooking insects.
So we'll stop there. I wanted to first of all say that this is just one example of these incredible videos. Earth School is full of TED Ed videos, but I also encourage you, if you are doing a different topic, either in language arts or social studies or whatever it might be, please mind the TED Ed videos. They are all available on YouTube, and they're really quite powerful. So once you've watched the landing video, then you can have your students do a quiz. And when they do a quiz, how many people eat bugs worldwide? They can click on their answer, save the answer, and there you get that nice little dopamine rush because you got it correct. Yay! And then you can move on to the next question and so on. So there is a quiz attached to each of the landing videos. Once you have finished the landing videos, the first one, then there are other watch videos. Before you dive into the rest of this quest, check out these videos to learn about the important role bees play in producing our food, how to reduce food waste, and how to choose a more earth-friendly diet. So in here, I was the curator for this quest, and I was able to take that landing video idea that would really capture the attention of the students, eat bugs, gross, and get them thinking about the food that they eat, which was the whole point of the quest. So we start with a pollination video from Cornell University, which is really fun and child-centered and allows the children to understand that, so when I'm eating an apple, I'm eating something that used to be a flower. How fascinating. And there were pollinators involved in fertilizing that flower. And flowers have eggs in them. Who knew? And those eggs need to be fertilized as well. So we start to open up the wonder of the natural world and of plants to the children. They realize that animals and plants are not as far apart from each other as we tend to make them out to be. So this new respect for plants is developed. The Hidden Beauty of Pollination is an absolutely gorgeous video put together by Louis Schwartzberg. And here you will see up close images and video of pollinators of all different kinds, busy working the flowers and getting their nectar and being covered with pollen. And it becomes quite clear on how this works. In Watch 3, we look at the state of food wastage. And I know for yourselves, you've I'm sure, read a lot about the current state of food waste around the world. And it is shocking at a time where so many people are hungry to understand that so much food is just thrown away and put in landfills. It's unacceptable. So this is important to open our students' eyes to this issue as well. And to, again, develop that sense of wonder. Once they understand that so much has gone into the food that they eat, from going back to that apple example, or it could be a mango, or it could be manioc, anything else, when they understand that the food that they eat has had so much natural investment in it, as well as economic investment, they would be less likely to just take a bite of their apple and throw the rest away, or leave that apple in their lunchbox rather than eating it as a healthy snack. So we're building that sense of responsibility and wonder. Down here, watch 4, what if the world went vegan? Well, this is an interesting video, and it's much more balanced than you might think. So the BBC Ideas videos are incredible as well for us educators. They are available free. You can just go to the BBC Ideas on Google and you will see a whole bunch of selections. We have used several in Earth School, and we are so proud to be partnered with BBC Ideas. So in this video, they examine the idea of veganism and looking at whether this is the solution or not. And it's quite a balanced piece. So this is not an anti-meat video. This is looking at how our industrial agriculture has gotten out of control and needs to come back to a more sustainable ground if we are to continue. And this builds back to that landing video about eating bugs, how there are other protein sources out there that are much more sustainable for our planet. So now if we go here to dig deeper, this is where the quest starts to be unpacked. Your students have now looked at several videos. We don't have any rules to this. If a student wants to watch the landing video and go right into learn and interact into this section, that's terrific. They can immediately go into interactive games like this one from National Geographic. This is called Planet Food. Planet Food Interactive aggregates the contents of your meal to generate a map showing the global footprint your plate makes before it even gets to your plate, and puts you in charge of the worldwide journey a bar of chocolate will take before it gets to you. And the children can then click on the website and launch it, and you can make a meal and do that ecological footprint map of your meal. And then you can take the chocolate challenge and understand how chocolate is grown, the drying process, and you have to go through all of these different challenges to succeed. So these are, I'm just going to have to exit full screen to go back to our TED. There we are. All right. And once you have had your students explore and do some interactive work within the quest, then they can also do an activity, a hands-on activity. And here we have an activity about pollination, and it's a flower dissection. So this is from an urban beekeeping group that partnered with us. And it's important to mention that almost everybody involved in Earth School is doing this on a voluntary basis. This is a truly wonderful COVID story of collaboration. We are seeing scientists from around the world collaborate as we search for treatments and a vaccine. But there are other collaborations going on as well, just like you today joining this webinar as a collaborative process to tackle this new way of teaching and learning that all of us are suddenly being thrust into. So we have volunteers from around the world who have been curating the quests. Alveole is an urban beekeeping group, and they developed this flower dissection activity booklet and the Bees in Our Food booklet. And so in here, you can print this, you can have your students print it out, And you can see how it walks through the parts of flower anatomy, and the students are encouraged to sketch these out. So one of the things that's interesting about this, no, I don't want to do that. Just one sec. Exit full screen. There we go. All right, there. There are student activities, and then there are also activities further down in the quest for educators. And the parents and educators, here you will see the flower dissection activity guide. And the flower dissection activity guide, and here we'll go back into full screen again. All right. I don't know if you as educators speak to yourselves as you're walking through websites. I certainly do. So in here you have a lot of information for the teachers, for the educators. They can look at how to approach this lesson. They have all of the answers for the activity sheets. They walk you through what you need. They have some nice images here that you could share your screen if you're doing a Google Classroom or a Zoom session with your students. You could show them what to expect as they go through. And there's a vocabulary list as the students are learning that scientific vocabulary about plant anatomy. So this is a fun way to approach a subject that can be kind of dry: plant anatomy, plant physiology. There's a wonderful activity idea in Act and Share. Learn and Interact has hands-on experiments and some interactive websites, and Act and Share tends to be a more playful activity, a way for students to explore their learning in a fun and sometimes informal way. I love this activity. It's called Crazy Plant. Here you are looking at plant anatomy by looking at the food that you have in your kitchen, in your fridge, in your pantry, and getting you to think about what part of the plant you are eating when you are eating particular foods, and then creating a plant out of this. And we'll be looking at some pictures a little later on to see how this works. And so you might have ginger root, you might have potatoes, you might have yams, beets, carrots as the root part of your crazy plant. And then you build up from there with things like celery or rhubarb that is the stem of your crazy plant. And you build out from there with leaves, so that could be kale or spinach or lettuce of any kind, or beet greens for that matter. And you build up into the flowers. And of course, what are flowers that we eat every day, and getting the kids to think about that. And they're thinking, well, I don't eat flowers. Well, in fact, you do. When you eat broccoli, when you eat cauliflower, you're eating flowers. And now that they've understood that flowers are such an important part of our food production, they now will realize that, oh, once this crazy plant has flowered, there are going to be seeds, nuts, berries, fruit. And some of these fruit we call vegetables, just to be really confusing. Things like peppers and zucchini. Anything that has a seed in it is considered a fruit when you're talking about plant anatomy. So your crazy plant can end off with this wonderful array of spices that you might have in your kitchen, like cardamom pods or peppercorns. You might have apples or oranges or kiwis or lemons or limes as your fruit. You can also have, as I mentioned, the zucchini, the peppers, the squash. Those are the fruit of your crazy plant. And if you have cinnamon sticks, well, you also have bark, and you can represent that. So by building a crazy plant, you're encouraging the kids, I know this sounds strange, to play with their food. But we even say that it's important that everything get put back in the fridge and put back away carefully so that there's no wastage. Why are we encouraging them to play with their food? Because this is what helps them develop that sense of wonder and curiosity and respect. So that becomes important to understand as we explore these quests, that there has to be a playful element in each one so that the students can feel that sense of excitement. Here we have a wonderful picnic basket. It's not an interactive, but it is an infographic and gives you a ton of ideas of what to do now that you're at home to become a zero waste detective, to cook at home, etc. One of the things that I have noticed here, I'm speaking to you today from Montreal in Canada, our families and our students have done a lot of cooking at home. And they share this with us on the school's Facebook page, and this has been really, really fun to see. So,
from United Nations Television.
Excuse me. So here we are. So we have gone through one complete quest, and I'm just going to pop over here for a moment to see some of the questions. Okay, that's great. The lessons can be adapted to any age group. I would encourage your educators to just go through the quests and really make them their own. There are no rules here. You don't have to start at A and end at Z. You can certainly go through and pick out those particular activities, and there are always ages attached. So if it says for all ages, that will work for everybody. If it's age 5 to 10, this is more in the primary age level. And then we also have a few activities for older students. And as the topics become more complex, so do the activities and the learning experiences become more complex as well. And so you will see in renewable energy, for instance, which will unlock on Monday, that a lot of the resources are for 11-year-olds and up, but again, there are always a few for everybody, and so it remains accessible to all. All right, so what I would like to do now is we are going to go to the discussion. Good thing I made that note, otherwise I would have forgotten. One of the wonderful things is that at the end of every quest, there is a discussion question. And so the question here was, what impact could vegan, well, actually, just give me one moment, because I think we are in that. Yes, sometimes that happens. We were in that original TED Ed discussion instead of the Earth School discussion. So let's have a look at this. So sometimes you have to go back and open up the quest again. And that's just a little bug. Speaking of bugs, that's just a little bug in the way our program works on TED Ed. But you can always instruct your students to just use the back tab to go back to the original Earth School page and click on the quest again that they were looking at, and then go to the section where they left off. So the discussion question for this one is, the thought of eating bugs may make a lot of us queasy, but what's really unappetizing is the amount of land, resources, and pollution involved in growing the meat proteins we are accustomed to. What would encourage you to make more sustainable food choices? So far, we've had many, many responses. We've had hundreds of responses. And here's one. One student says, I would eat ants if they were slathered in chocolate. This one says, I would prepare bugs in creative ways to hide them in food and let us slowly get used to the fact that bugs are edible. Go down here. This one says, perhaps the largest of the factors Will Gorley suggests is knowledge. Knowledge comes from thorough research, which forms the basis of education. People need to learn about eating bugs. From education comes understanding and knowledge. Then our courage will have a reliable foundation from which to grow. I love that. So it's been really wonderful as a curator on Earth School to look at the responses that have come streaming in and respond to them. So here's someone from Vietnam saying, just pretend it is a pre-lobster. I mean, look, here in Montreal, it's lobster season in all of our fish stores, and people are spending a fortune eating this wonderful arthropod. So those are the discussion parts. And finally, you have an invitation to document your quests. And this has been wonderful for us to be able to see how students have used the Earth School quests. And they've been posting their pictures. And in a few moments, we're going to be sharing some of those pictures with you. I also wanted to draw your attention to one of our partners, which is an Australian group called Little Scribe, who create digital books. And this is wonderful. This is a way for you to encourage your students to go further with their quests. As long as it remains in digital form, it is free. And the people at Little Scribe in Australia have created quests that are specific to our Earth School quests that the students can go into to get ideas on how they would create a story, a digital storybook or video or cartoon of their learning. So check that out as well. And that's in the And Finally section. So if we click back here to come back to, oh, look, we're at 162,000 quests that have been taken now. That's wonderful. And here we are back on the landing page, and you can then open up another quest and begin again. And in here, we go into dig deeper. You see the watch videos, you see the learn and interact section, the act and share section, the want more section that is full of great ideas. And again, always with the ages attached. So we have some here that are really for the older students, and then we have others that are for all ages. And the discussion questions and how you can look into that, and the And Finally. So I am going to now hand it back over. We're going to look at some pictures of some of the student work. So if Jen could bring us back to those pictures, that would be terrific. Wonderful. So here you can see how some of the students who were inspired to create with Lego, how clouds are formed and how they are made. And so this is really a wonderful way to express the learning. I'm sure your students love Lego too. So we can go to the next one now. In here you have two different quests. You have the nature of plants and forests and quest 5, the energy we need. And these are expressions, these are activities that are suggested to the children that they can really create in a short period of time so that they can feel that they've, kind of expressed their learning. And that's so important for them. For the quest 5, the energy we need, these were, the idea was to make a light switch plate cover. Now that's a big mouthful, but it just means that on your light switch, you would have this little emblem that would help you remember to turn the lights out when you leave the room. This is something that I do when I am in school with my students, and we run an energy audit of our building, and we learn about all of the different types of energy we use at school. Well, now we're inviting students to do that at home, to understand what kind of energy they use in their everyday lives, and then how to reduce their energy usage with simple tools like a little reminder to turn out the lights when they're not in use. For the nature of plants, this was looking at how plants defend themselves, and kids love this. It becomes an almost, bringing plants to life, that anthropomorphization of plants. And I love that because they are living things, and we tend to relegate them to the more inanimate object category, and that's not true at all. So this gets the kids thinking about all the wonderful ways plants can defend themselves and how plants can communicate with each other as well. And if we can go to the next one, This was in Quest 6 and the nature of design and looking at how nature inspires architecture and engineering. The landing video is all about a termite, how a termite mound or a termite home inspired an energy efficient building because termites know what they're doing. Nature has been product testing for billions of years. So we should really turn to nature to get good ideas. One of the great ideas that has come out of nature is the egg shape. And when we think of great cathedrals of the world, we can picture that domed roof. And that domed roof is so powerful as a form because you don't need supporting posts underneath it. It is such a strong structure because the weight is being distributed all over that rounded oval shape. So this experiment encouraged the kids to discover how many books they could pile up on two eggs that had been emptied, cracked in two and emptied, and those 4 half eggshells, pointy part up, were placed on the table and they started loading up books. And so we have many pictures that have been shared with us on Twitter and on other social platforms. And that show us this incredible pile that you can create. So again, hands-on activities with items that the students are likely to have on hand. This was the challenge for our wonderful group of curators. We have over 50 curators now developing these lessons, and the challenge is always how to get the kids excited and interested and then give them something hands-on to do, even though they are learning at their kitchen table instead of at school these days. So what's the next slide now? Okay, so again, this was looking at the nature of water and understanding the process of osmosis and how water is constantly diffusing, and water can walk along dry paper towel that you've inserted into colored water glasses. And over time, the students will see that all of that water ends up being mixed together. And so they begin to understand how water is constantly moving from wetter areas to drier areas and how this is informing all of the cycles of life on our planet. The catapult was part of the engineering quest. And down here, I think we have a challenge that was in our climate quest, looking at what greenhouse gases are and understanding how they retain heat. And so this was a simple experiment for students to do. And again, a thermometer, a sunny windowsill, and a jar. And that's all that they needed for this. And is that our last slide? Okay. We have the life cycle of a T-shirt. That's just one other example of a quest. I think we can move on from there. And there's a little video.
Tell about how cotton T-shirts are made. So first they need to crop cotton plant. Second, they put a pesticide, and that's a chemical, and which is not good for farmers. And then they need to produce it in the factory, and also human labor is happening. Also they're putting dye and bleach. That also has chemical, and the farmers will also can catch it. And then it has to go for ship, and then I'm going to tell you, and it takes so much water that it takes 27,000 liters of water. So how to recycle it is very less fabric and wash less, donate, and count human behavior. Buy less T-shirts also.
Or buy organic.
I'd buy a
So there we go. This was one of the videos that was posted on Twitter using the hashtag Earth School. And this was a wonderful example of how a student learned by looking at our quest about the clothes we wear and the life cycle of a t-shirt and understanding that the clothes that we wear, well, imagine that. I'm wearing a cotton shirt today. I'm wearing something that's made out of seeds that was grown and harvested and had lots of inputs like the water. That's an amazing amount of water per t-shirt. So your students are going to get a lot out of this. I think I'm going to end here and we are going to start taking some questions now. Is that right?
Thank you, Kathleen, so much for that. It was really, really fantastic to be able to dig deep into those quests and to really have a look at just the wealth of resource that's there and to be able to see that coming through in its application and implementation with student learning was a real privilege for all of us, I'm sure. We do have quite a number of questions, so let me try and put some of them together. First one, the quests are one a day for the period up to June the 5th. What happens after that is the question.
Okay, so after that, first of all, the quests will remain up. They will remain up for an so far undetermined period of time. So certainly well through the summer and likely into the fall. So there's no time limit or a pressing time limit for you. You can get going with it, and we should have more information on how long it will stay up. Hopefully, it will stay up until next year's version of Earth School, because we are looking at making this an annual event, if you will.
Thank you, Kathleen. It kind of leads into another question, which was are there plans to extend the initiative?
Yes, there's been so much excitement around Earth School, and I'm not sure that I made it super clear at the beginning, but this all started, right, with two or three people with an idea, and that's how all ideas start, right? So it has grown from there, and just like that old saying of if you build it, they will come, we built this platform, and all of these people and partners have come on board. And now we are excited to look ahead and see where this is going from here. So please stay tuned, because for sure, Earth School will continue and live on.
Thank you. And somebody's asking, and I'm sure you get asked this quite a lot, how do we get access to all the quests? I believe the answer is they're all free and available on the through the website. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. So if you just Google search TED Ed Earth School, or even just Earth School, you will land on our website, and all of it is freely accessible to you. And like I said, you just can approach the quests in any way that you wish. They were designed in a particular order, but I am very cognizant of the fact that as an educator, I like to be able to pick and choose the resources that I'm going to use. And I would really encourage you as educators to do the same thing rather than feel confined to a particular order.
I think you've just answered one of the other questions there as well, Kat, which was, can they be done in any order, or do they need to be consecutive as themes in a sequence? So I think you were very clear there. People can dip in and out and pick and mix across the themes.
Exactly. That was very well said. Exactly.
And another question, Kathleen, is, as the curator for some of the quests, how did you go about sourcing such amazing resources?
Well, it was quite something for the first 5 quests, which were the ones that I curated on my own as we were launching this project. It was incredible to go into this, fire hose of materials that exists out there and try to find the particular ones that would really speak to the topic. And what's happened since then is lots and lots of partners have come on board, and they've kind of offered up these incredible resources. I'll never forget the day that National Geographic's, head of youth education got in touch and said, I love the design of this project. Here are some great interactives for you. And I looked through it, and as an educator, this was like, manna from heaven, finding all of these amazing resources, and all given to us for free, total free access, no subscription necessary. And those are the wonderful moments in this. So it was to look at what spoke best to the quest, what would allow a child to be able to do this on their own or with the accompaniment of a parent, an older sibling, or a teacher from a distance. So those as well informed the choices. And also we were looking for, and this is a challenge, we were looking for some international content that would bring in different perspectives. So just the other day, working with the curators on the urban gardens, we found this wonderful video that had been produced with the UN about tire gardening in Haiti to grow food in community gardens. And it's really important that we include that too. Otherwise, it becomes a very Western perspective. And so there again, we tried to do our best to represent that, and also to represent women in science. This was another important facet, and showcasing the women who have been contributing so much to environmental science and activism.
Thank you, Kathleen. We've got just a couple more questions before we draw it to a close. There are two that are quite related to other types of learning goals. So the first question was, are the resources mapped to the Sustainable Development Goals, learning goals? And the other one is a bit more specific to our international curriculum about the possibility of cross-referencing to the IEYC, IPC and IMYC, which are our international curriculum programs. We see so many links to the IPC units, and we'd love to use some of these activities to support our early years curriculum, the IEYC. So I guess whether there's any cross-referencing at the moment, Kathleen?
I am not. I'm not sure that we're there yet, but we are striving to get there.
Sorry, thank you, just mute your mics. Thank you. Sorry, Kathleen, go ahead.
No problem. We are striving to get there, and we are soon going to be putting all of our lessons on the. Oh, now the name has escaped me. It's a worldwide digital learning site. Perhaps what we can do is we can follow up with information on this through your organization, if that works for you, Sarah, and provide people with the mapping links once we have them up.
Absolutely, thanks, Kat, and I can reassure all of our schools we will work closely with you to follow up on that. There are so many clear links, certainly to our IPC and IMYC units, but also to our early years units. And there have been a number of questions from people who are early years teachers on participating in the webinar at the moment, asking about content for younger learners.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have, like I said, we have quite a spectrum of ages with a kind of sweet spot target of the 10, 11-year-old, a grade 5 or 6 student here in the Canadian school system. This was because we were assuming that a lot of the people accessing this were in a family unit, learning from home, and we were hopeful that the older siblings could help the younger siblings, who could also help the youngest sibling. So there was that aspect of it as well. For the young learners, we have just in the last few quests, I have started adding really young materials down in the parent and educator resources section. And these are things that are much more suitable for the preschooler, so say age 3 to 6. And this is important because we don't want to put those things too far up top to alienate the more, cool and advanced students in grades 5 and 6. But at the same time, we want to have appealing storybooks and digital storybooks. We want to have videos that really, like Peppa the Pig, to speak to that younger audience as well. So we started putting that in, and I have a feeling that in other iterations of School, we will have a more elaborated, age-specific kind of setup, so that all different ages can really access this. But for now, we have quite the spectrum, and you can go in and find in each and every quest, no matter how complex the topic, some materials that are suitable even for the preschooler.
That's great news. We're really excited about future iterations of it, Kat, as well, extending its reach. Final question. It's a great one. Love the way it's designed to support independent learning. Would you recommend incorporating this into potentially a flipped learning model in school? It's an interesting question, because in all of these webinars, Kat, we have had schools talking about how they've been dealing with homeschooling during lockdown, and how to, and for some schools now starting to reopen, and I know you yourself are reopening. And many schools are finding that they're actually reflecting and thinking about their pedagogical approach to learning in kind of a more focused way, and thinking about potential of flipped learning models. So it's an interesting question to end us on.
Yes, well, and I think it's a fantastic question. I think that this global pause that we're in, and this, sudden shift in the way we are dealing with education, has provided this amazing opportunity for reflection, and to really look at, how we can get students motivated and excited about their learning. This is just one idea, but it certainly is one idea that can inspire interest and curiosity. These TED Ed teaser videos are quite incredible, and you will see what I mean when you start getting into it. They launch the student into a state of wanting to learn more, and how exciting and perfect is that for us as educators? And then to have the students experiment with things. I want a student to notice how water moves and get excited about that. I want students to realize that, wow, look at that. The temperature in the closed pickle jar in the sun is so much higher than in the open one. What is going on there? And then taking that learning into that more formal setting of either the digital or the physical classroom. And when you flip the learning in that way, this becomes an opportunity for them to go deeper into things with you as an educator by their side, again, physically or digitally. And they are able to build on that initial aha moment that they had with the hands-on experience. So I'm so happy that that was a question that was asked. I think it's absolutely the position that we're all in as educators. We are looking at this as educational leaders. We're looking at this and thinking, how can we springboard this, pretty terrible situation we find ourselves in as a world community, and make something, build back better in every possible way, including in the way we teach our kids.
Thank you so much, Kathleen, and a huge thank you to everybody for all your questions. For those unanswered, we will put together responses and share with you all when we publish the recording of the session. And I know some of you are asking about Kathleen's Twitter handle. We will send out information and more information about how you can connect with Earth School. COVID-19 restrictions may have closed our borders. It may have forced us into physical isolation, but the situation is also underscoring for us the critical role of international collaboration, addressing global challenges such as the current pandemic, climate change, energy sustainability. In vastly different local contexts, requires global collaboration to provide opportunities for that sharing of knowledge, skills, and understanding. Science-based projects, as we've seen in this remarkable Earth School, create a benchmark for others. and our collaborations together are valuable enhancements to what we could describe as a developing ecosystem of knowledge sharing. Our sincere thanks to Dr. Kathleen Usher for sharing time with us during this session to take us on the Earth School adventure. Kat, your passion and commitment to this collaborative learning experience are absolutely inspiring, and our international curriculum work has been thoroughly enriched through this connection. Thank you too to all of you participating today. We look forward to welcoming you to more of our Stay Connected 20 webinars running over the coming weeks. My contact details are on the screen. Please do contact me about any aspect of our learning today, or indeed about implementation of our international curriculum. I'd like to take the opportunity to wish all of our colleagues preparing for Eid a happy and peaceful Eid Mubarak. If you can kindly click on the Leave Meeting icon, we will complete the recording of this session. Goodbye and stay safe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.